good morning. How are you guys feeling? Good. Can you guys hear me okay? Is that well? Okay. So I'm Chelsea Conrad with Causeway. I'm the creative director there. If you aren't familiar with Causeway, we are a nonprofit who works with individuals who aren't part of an established nonprofit, but who have an idea to make the community better in some way. We work with them to help them figure out how to get that idea off the ground. So Kaysie has been through several of our programs. We've gotten to know her well over the past few years. We first met her when she took our Co-Starters for Causes class, which is a 9-week planning course that helps you plan everything about your business. What year did you take that? 2016? 17? Okay. Yeah. So just been it feels like longer ago because she has grown like crazy and made so much progress in the last couple of years. We're so proud of her. And so we're piloting a new program this year. Every year I choose a word for Causeway to focus on for that year. So this is our year of depth that we're wrapping up right now. And we decided to pilot a program we're calling the Social Innovation Studio. So we're just piloting that with Kaysie and with one other person, Teresa Nix, who has a nonprofit called Downside Up. And the whole point of that was inviting 2 people in who have been through our programs before, but who are growing just like wildfire, like crazy. We want to work with them on a deeper level and help them grow. And I think restart is a perfect phrase for Kaysie to be talking about, not just because of what she does with Homes and Havens, but because of how that word is really just filled in everything that she does in the way that she works. So I'm excited for you guys to hear from her. So to start us off, just tell us where we are right now, what is this beautiful, magical space, and in your own words, what does Homes and Havens do?
Yeah. So this space is Homes and Havens' new headquarters. We just moved from a sweet little space in East Ridge that was 800 square feet that we outgrew in about a month, and but stayed there a year, and so we just, through the generosity of so many people, were able to start here. And so we literally, as of like 8 p.m. last night, got the heat turned on and the power turned on. So that's been fun. But I'm like so excited that y'all are here. I couldn't think of a better way to like christen this space. We just got it done. It's not freezing in here. And the warmth of all of y'all being here, I'm just so thankful that y'all got up early and got here, because that, is a big deal. But thank you for coming. So what Homes and Havens does is we create healing spaces for women in recovery. So we partner with about 13 agencies in Chattanooga that are working with women and children in their initial crisis, or trauma, which that could be homelessness, domestic violence, sex trafficking, addictions, incarcerations, any kind of major life trauma. And we work with these agencies who are walking with these women through their trauma and through their crisis. And once they get established, either get a job and then get housing, we come in and fully furnish and decorate their entire home for them. And the type of design that we use is called trauma-informed design. And so everything that we put in the home, based on research that I've done on how the body responds to trauma and how the body responds to design and colors and all of those things, we create a home that is not only equipped to, there's beds, there's dressers for their life, but also it is actually helping their emotional well-being and their nervous system and all of that. As they're recovering from trauma, it's actually promoting healing without them even knowing it. So that, in a nutshell, is what we do. And this space is our office, storage, as you can tell back there, where we paint furniture, and then where we meet with our partners in the community, and then we have events here as well, or hope to, starting today.
First one. Awesome. So tell us a little bit about your creative background, because you obviously just have such a knack for creating really beautiful spaces, but that your creative eye also spills over. If you've seen her logo, she made her own logo, which is super impressive to me as a designer, and we see lots of people trying to make their own logo that don't look that way.
Oh, dear.
So I'm always just impressed with your eye. I want to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. My degree in education is not in design. It is in education. And so, yay, college, that works for you. I was thinking about this last night. I think where my love for design and everything really started was watching my parents. They were kind of house flippers. We have a term for it now, but back then they were just like, renovating homes. And I think as a child, like living in a home and having my mom and dad come through and are like, well, if we move the front door over here, and I'm sitting there thinking, what in the world? As a child, I think being a creative is about seeing what's not there and envisioning what it could be. And so I think as a child, having my own home environment literally transform over and over. We went from one house to the next, and seeing my mom, especially her creative ability to just see things that were not there, and we would have people come over and they would just rant and rave of just like how beautiful our homes were. And I think that was the bedrock of what gave me the confidence to actually start envisioning things that were not there and then working hard to actually make that a reality. But yeah, I don't have a degree in interior design. It's just something that I have a huge passion for and study and learn from the best and just pick it up that way. So
it's obviously just a natural and innate talent that you really cultivate at the same time. So it's super.
Right. And even our logo, I mean, I don't know how to use Photoshop. I don't know how to use Illustrator. I did that on my phone. Like I had an app, and I was telling my husband last night, I was like, do you remember I was sitting here on our couch on my phone, and when I have an idea for something, I have to start with the brand. I have to start with the logo. And before I can ever flesh it out, I see ideas and I see logos. And so that I was just sitting on my couch and like moving some stuff around and changing the color. And I was like, I think this will work.
It definitely works. So tell us just a little bit of background on how this happened. Where were you before you started Homes and Havens, and what inspired you to start it?
I have always, I think early 20s, as most of us do probably, we kind of have an idea of what we want to be or with the direction we're going, whether that's a career and for me, I wanted to be a writer. That's one of the things from a little girl, I always wanted to be a writer. And so I had this organization that I idolized, and I always wanted to work for this organization and be a content developer and write studies and different things. And so I started from the ground up and just worked my way up. I had jobs in marketing, in development, in customer service, in the student ministries, and really thought that I was on this course to get where I wanted to go. And that changed. So I was about 2 weeks away from signing my dream job description that they had created just for me. And this was also during a season where I was about to lose both of my parents to addiction, and was walking with them through this just traumatic, horrible season, and watching someone you love literally just slip right out of your grip, and there was nothing we could do to bring them back. And praying and mourning and just trying to keep our family together during that season. It was also a very hectic, traumatic season in this job. And I can remember sitting in my cubicle thinking, this is not what I thought life was going to be like. This is not what I thought adulthood was going to be like. And doing something, I always wanted to do something I was passionate about, but I just felt so trapped. And so God, in His mercy, 2 weeks before Christmas, I walked into a meeting to sign this job description that I have been hoping, and in this season I was kind of putting all my eggs in this basket of like, this has to work out so that I'll have one moment of joy in my crazy, chaotic life right now. And they said, we are so sorry, but today's your last day. We didn't get the funding, and so your job is off the table, and you can clean out your desk and leave today. And it was one of the most gutting moments that I feel like everyone in this room has had one of those moments where it's like you watch all your dreams just burn to the ground. And you're like, okay, so I have a couple of choices on how to respond to this. But I think for me, a lot of restarting has always been about rebuilding. And to restart, something has to have stopped. Something has to have died. Something has to have ceased to be running anymore. And restarting takes so much courage. And it takes what I was talking about earlier of seeing something that isn't there. Because maybe it was there and it got destroyed. Maybe the job description was written out and it got torn up. But you have to restart. And so this ministry, after walking with my parents who, miracle story, they did hit their bottom, and they both are now walking in recovery, and their marriage has been restored, and our family is being knit back together. But that, seeing something, I mean, and all of us have relationships in our lives too, where we're like, this is dead. This isn't going anywhere. I can't even see what this would be like healthy. I can't even see what this person would be like if they had another opportunity. And I think it starts with believing that it's possible, and kind of, again, like my mom would stand in her home and say, let's move this doorway over here. Let's take this wall out. And I think protecting that courage and that faith to see what it could be is so essential to the work of a creative. And in our work, in our relationships, in our work with our clients, or whatever the case may be. And so watching my parents resurrect from the dead gave me courage to start this ministry. And during that season of after I lost my job, and then shortly after that, my husband lost his job. So we're both like sitting at home, freaked out, or just severely depressed. We usually don't freak out. We just like go inside. We're just like, we're fine. But we're both introverts, so that works against us sometimes. But it was just a lot of prayer and searching. And I think there was so much defeat in my life at that point. I was like, I have got to get around some victory. And so I started volunteering, because I didn't have a job, at some local ministries here in Chattanooga that were serving women either in addiction or coming out of a crisis or coming out of trauma. And I just fell in love with these women because we were the same. There was no separation between us. I felt such a kindred spirit with these women who were just rebuilding, climbing out of the darkest pit that you can imagine. And these were my sisters. And so I noticed a gap in their the rehabilitation plan, where they would get these women clean or sober or safe, and then they would transition. They'd find them job, they'd find them housing, but then you get an apartment key. There's no way they can fully furnish a home. And they've got kids, they've got caseworkers, they've got home, just all home studies and different things if they're trying to get their kids back. And it's a huge expense, and especially if you've gone through a traumatic situation, your creative side of your brain is kind of asleep. You're just surviving. Like, for a woman to be like, oh, I think I could put a rug and a coffee table, and so, like, these mamas are just, they're just trying to pay their bills. They're just trying to keep their kids safe. And so for me, I just saw that gap, and I thought, I could create them a home. It doesn't take that much to just put some stuff together. And so we just started with one room at a time. That's all I could afford, because obviously we had no money because we were jobless. And so I would either give furniture in my house, or would just pick up super cheap furniture on Facebook and then paint it, and then just kind of piece together one room for one woman at a time. And then was really content to keep it small, because that was my background, was in nonprofits, and just you can kind of lose the mission of like connecting face to face with your clients sometimes. And so I wanted to avoid that. And so I thought, nobody needs to know what I'm doing. I'm just like in my carport painting one dresser at a time. And but God just kept breathing wind, and people would hear about it and want to help and support us. And when people started writing me checks, I just kept feeling super sketch. I was like, I don't want to take your money, but I need it, but I don't know what to do. And so that's when we decided to file for a 501c3, and so we're now officially a nonprofit and all legal and everything. But so now we're doing whole rooms. Now we went from like 2 referring agencies to now 13 agencies have linked up with us and said, can we get on your list? How can we get our clients on your list? And so it has just grown so exponentially. And it is one of the most fulfilling things. I think about that girl sitting in that cubicle and how trapped she felt and how sad, just frustrated and confused about what am I supposed to do in the world? Like, I want to help, but I don't feel like this is it. I could not have dreamed up this job. I could not, in that moment, I couldn't have even thought, you'll be the executive director of Homes and Havens, and this is what your job will be. I couldn't even have the courage to think that, but it was taking one step at a time and what was in front of me and serving the one person that was in front of me. And it is where we are today. And this community, Chattanooga, has been so welcoming to this mission. And it's like, I mean, having all of y'all here today is like I just had a baby and y'all are all coming to see it. And I'm like, is it cute? Do you like it? Does it look like me? Does it look like Dad? And so it's just been so crazy, this journey of restarting. And what's waiting for you on the other side of that restart will blow your mind. You just have to be faithful and don't be afraid to dream about what is possible and tell people about that and say, this is what I'm envisioning. Does it connect? Could you see this?
Absolutely. I love that. If you guys haven't gotten a chance to come look at all of her before and after pictures over here or on her social media, please do that. She takes a cinder block room that you think could never be a beautiful space, and she makes it somewhere that you could walk into and instantly feel peace come over you, and it's really amazing. It's a true talent.
Thank you.
So you're working with women all the time who are really in the thick of a big change. What have they taught you about the importance of restarting and the value of restarting?
Their courage. I think they are my heroes. When I come into these homes and I meet these women, again, I feel such a kindred spirit with them and that we are the same. There's a lot of stigmas about the clients that we work with, whether that's women coming out of an addiction or homelessness, and when we share their stories, there are stigmas associated with all of these things. And but I find that I'm more like them than I'm not. And we're all in recovery. We all are. I mean, we're all recovering from something, whether that was something that happened out of your control or within your control. We're all recovering from pain and trauma and brokenness in our story. I've yet to meet one person that doesn't. Let me tell you about this time that really sucked. All of us have that chapter or multiple chapters, or maybe we're waiting for the sunshine chapter. I mean, it could have been a long story of brokenness, but when I meet these women, they inspire me because of their courage, because they have gone through, I mean, I've had trauma. I've had nothing like this. And the fact that they are smiling when they welcome us in and they love their children and they are envisioning and fighting to envision a life that maybe they have never even seen modeled. They have never seen what it looks like to be healthy emotionally, or a present parent, or a working mom that is supporting her family by herself for the first time. And she's seen modeled for her in the generations before brokenness, and she's believing in what she can't see, and she's working her butt off to get there. And the way they have protected their kids and are just, they're fighters. And I leave every consultation more like, I feel honored to be in your presence. Like, thank you for inviting us into your home, and I'm honored to know you. Like, they're incredible women, and their courage. When I have my hard days, even though, yes, I have my dream job, there are days that I still cry on my way home, and I'm just, there are frustrations, and like yesterday I couldn't get the power turned on and I was about to lose my freaking mind. But I think those moments, I think about these women and the hurdles that they're overcoming. I'm like, yeah, we got this. This is going to be fine.
Yeah, that's super inspiring. So as we can all see, Homes and Havens is just kind of exploding in a really positive way. And that's one of the reasons that we, at Causeway, we work with tons of people who are working on tons of ideas, and every now and then one hits this like special spot where it just starts to kind of like run away from you without your control or consent. It just grows and grows and grows, and I think that's when you know you're onto something really special. So tell us what's on the horizon for you and what role Rest and Restarting is playing in your own work habits.
I have endless ideas for where this is going to go. This is not the final chapter. For now, we are moving in a direction of just moving in this space, of offering this space as a place to have conversations and do activities centered on the idea of healing and being in recovery. And I have prayed over this space from the moment it was just like dust. And nothing was beautiful about it, that this would be a heartbeat of healing in Chattanooga and a place where we can gather and serve our community and have conversations centered around recovering and healing from the brokenness that we all suffer. And we eventually want to do some social enterprise things like having a boutique or a store here. We paint a lot of furniture, and everybody usually wants to buy our stuff. They're like, can I buy this? And so we want to have a store like that would support our mission and our work. We want to grow into having a network there. I get contacted constantly from women in other states. They want me to move there and start one in their city. I'm like, I'm not leaving Chattanooga. But we want to create a model. The model that we do is really simple, and it's very easy to replicate. And so I would love to see other chapters start in other cities and all across America. And I think that's, the world needs it. I mean, there's so many more women that need a healing space to recover in, and that's just like the tip of the iceberg. So
this is just the beginning. So you guys are getting in early. And you have a grand opening here tomorrow. At what time?
From 1 to 6 p.m. Drop in
so
anytime.
Come in and see it again tomorrow. So last question, in this room full of creative people, what practical advice would you leave them with to build the idea of restarting into their practice? I do want to note, you're technically on sabbatical right now, is that true?
Tomorrow
starts sabbatical. Maybe Sunday starts sabbatical?
Maybe next Saturday.
But yeah, talk about that a little bit, and what do you see the role of that as in a creative?
Yeah, so it's funny when Chelsea invited me to speak, and she was like, the topic's on restarting, and I was like, because I've already told you the story before where I was forced to restart, and I feel like there are situations in our life where you're like, yep, powering off, bye. Like, you're going to have to rebuild and you're going to have to restart. But as is alluded, this has really taken off, and as of right now, we have 2 paid staff people that run this thing, me and Meg, and she's somewhere hiding, but I can't find her. And then Susan is operating in a position that's unpaid. Susan Stein, our Director of Development. And so it is a lot of work. And this is really exciting, and the growth of this can be intoxicating at times, where it's like, this is so amazing, let's jump to the next thing. And but because recovery is so central to our mission, I have to look at my team and say, do we need to recover? Like, do we need to have a moment where we need to rest? And I think since I've been at the conception of this especially, it's been a long 2 years to get this where we're sitting today. And I think I started sensing a deep weariness in me that scared me a little bit, how tired I was. And I think there's too much at stake if I burn out, and there's too much at stake if you burn out. And I think it's important to take seasons where you rest and recover, especially as a creative, because the work that we do, being a creative is the most vulnerable, exhausting work I have ever been a part of. And in light of what we do, I leave a part of me in every home that I do. And I think that's important because it means you're committed to the work. And it means that you think it's worth risking yourself to complete. But I think we're foolish if we ignore how much that really takes out of us to keep creating and producing the quality and the beauty of the work that we do. And so for me, I am taking a sabbatical in December, maybe. I will. My husband will kill me if I don't. But and just like turning off the phone. And I think I expected the world to respect my boundaries, or to just create boundaries for me, even of like, they know this is too much to expect of me. And I realized that actually I'm the one that has to build those fences and guard those fences, because I think a lot of creatives get into helping industries because I think creating an art at its very heart wants to help people heal and wants to elicit inspiration and restoration in the world. And I think that is exhausting. And so my advice to this group of beautiful creatives and helpers would be, you're more tired than you think you are. And so you need rest and you need a space to recover. And it's not selfish to pull back for a little while and take a breath and really step back. I mean, even me in this moment, sitting here and just soaking in what is around me and what God and what our community and what we have worked our butts off for, and soaking that in and enjoying that. But I think especially for creatives, that time of restarting, turning the phone off, going somewhere that fills you up with inspiration and really pours into you because you're exhausted. And the work that we do is so important, but it will take your life if you let it. And so I'm going to put my money where my mouth is and take a sabbatical when it does not make sense to do that right now.
I think that's something you really taught me is, I think stopping feels really scary when you have momentum because you're afraid you won't be able to restart.
Right.
And you kind of reframed that for me of like, no, you won't be able to keep going unless you stop and restart.
Right.
So that, I think, is a super important message that I hope we all hear today.
Mm-hmm.
We think we're invincible. Yeah. We think that, and not only do our souls suffer, but our work suffers. And so even, I never want to show up to a consultation and meet a woman that I'm like, I can't wait for this to be over. Like, I'm so tired, or, I'm distracted. I want to be rested and fully present and be like, you are the star in this moment, and I want to treat you like the star, and then come back. And you have to protect that. I mean, you have to protect that place where your creative energy and your helping comes from. But, yeah.
Awesome. Let's give her a big round of applause.